It's Wednesday. Welcome to another edition of Buck What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Super Heavyweight. You follow me, I'll follow you back. And this is the Buccaneers versus New England Patriots edition of Buck What You Heard. And tonight, I'm joined by my co-host, Michael Pless. How are you doing tonight, Michael?
Doing great, Gene. How's everyone?
Doing good, man. I'm just glad football is here. I'm happy football is here, win, lose, or draw. So here we are on the eve of Thursday Night Football, and I'm really excited. And also, we're joined tonight by Alec Shane. He's a writer for the SB Nation, Pat's Pulpit. He's going to give us some verse and scripture today on the New England Patriots. And, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right. So I'm going to kind of kick this off. I'm going to start this off with the New England Patriots. And as you've been watching the games, the first few games of the season, what are your highlights so far, for the New England Patriots?
Yeah, good question. The highlights are all on the offensive side of the ball. I think Tom Brady at 40 looks as good as he's looked ever in his career. QBR is off the charts. He was ranked number one overall in the NFL right now. The offense looks good, even without Julian Edelman. That was a big loss in the preseason, that ACL tear he suffered. But Chris Hogan stepped it up. Danny Amendola stepped it up. Gronkowski's still a beast. They have two really good receiving backs in James White and Dion Lewis, and Mike Gillis is a good between the tackles runner. So the offense is still very potent and capable of putting up points to any team in the league. You saw him put up 33 against the Houston Texans, 36, Houston Texans, which is a very vaunted defense. And so the fact that this offense can hang like that is still a very big positive for us.
All right. Any other wide receivers that you might want to mention that you may have just gotten from the Carolina Panthers?
I'll tell you one guy I like a lot. He's on IR now. Is a sophomore, Malcolm Mitchell. He's a very good receiver. I think he had a very good rookie campaign. I think he's going to be good. He's on IR right now with destination to return after week 8. But he's the big one I'm looking at right now. You've also got Philip Dorsett, who they brought over from the Colts in the trade for Jacoby Brissett. I'm not sure what he's going to bring to the table at the moment, but he's a guy to watch. And, of course, you got Brandon Cooks. He's your big offseason acquisition who has having a big season so far.
All right. There we go. So, as you're looking at this team, how do you feel moving forward? Is there anybody on that's injured now that you can expect to see coming back that could potentially help this team? Or I know the injury report came out today. Is there anybody that we might expect to see tomorrow that we haven't really talked about?
Expect to see tomorrow? I don't know about that. I feel like everybody who was going to be hobbled was kind of off the injury report last week against the Panthers. I think the biggest name that's still not on the list is special teamer Matthew Slater. He's a core special teams guy, hasn't played yet. And receiving back kind of slot ex-guy Rex Burkhead. He had a really good game against the Saints in week 2. Banged his ribs up, hasn't been back since. They're your two big weapons. But other than that, guys are slowly starting to get healthy. Dante Hightower hurt his knee in week 1. He's not 100% yet. Hopefully he'll be back on the mend. And once he's back, they'll be fine, hopefully on defense. We'll see what happens there because their defense is in a lot of trouble right now. I'm not sure if you really watch these Patriots games, but this defense right now is very bad.
All right. Michael, you want to jump in here?
No, I agree with what Alex said. I mean, as far as the offense goes, I mean, this offense is very proficient. I mean, they just make things happen. I mean, Brady is just so precise with the football. It's really watch your offense because they move the ball with, short passes, but it works as a running game almost, but then they can also use that as like a play action. But then they can also run the football very well when they're committed to it. So it's a great offense to watch for sure, and just the way they use their weapons. But then also their misdirection plays are very cool to see. I mean, they had a bunch of them last week against the Panthers where, they just fake one way and go back the other way with a halfback screen, or really good with their bubble screens, and they just find ways to create space, which is very impressive. And Brady is just so pinpoint. I mean, with his throws. I mean, that touchdown pass to I believe it was Chris Hogan. I mean, that was perfect. I mean, you can't beat that. It's hard to stop.
Yeah, most definitely. So, just kind of give us an overview of the Patriots versus the Panthers game, and give me your final thoughts on that. And I just kind of curious to, first quarter, second, third, on down the line, what are your thoughts in just looking at that game?
Yeah, I was actually at that game. I was in the stands. I try to go to one game a year, and it was a good day for it, except for the fact that this Patriots defense that I just alluded to is, I don't know exactly what happened, and this is on pace to be one of the worst defenses in NFL history in terms of yards and points allowed. Easily the worst defense in the Belichick era. It's obviously still the end of the season's very early, and there's plenty of time to turn it around. But you're looking at defenses of the past where maybe the pass rush wasn't there, or the coverage suffered, and there were just little aspects you could point to as to why the defense wasn't really getting the job done. But you're looking at this Patriots defense through 4 weeks, and they've forgotten how to play football. It seems like guys are wide open. They're giving up big plays. They're just misdirected. There's no communication. It's very odd to see in a Belichick run defense. And at the game, we actually, in section 331, we stopped rooting for punts and started rooting for third downs. We just wanted to see a third down. It's like, hold them to 3 downs. We'll be happy. You drink your beer, you go to the bathroom, and you're already down 10 more points. It was a very weird scenario. So overall, it's a cause for concern for sure, because this is not a Bill Belichick-led defense at all. This is not a scenario where they, sometimes you see defenses suffer between season 1 and season 2. The defensive coordinator goes away, he gets gutted, or they lose all their players free agency, but most of the players are still intact. And so most Patriots fans are scratching their heads today trying to figure out what's going on with this defense and can they correct it going forward. And a pretty good offense in Tampa Bay. Jameis Winston's very mobile. You have good receivers. They're scoring a lot of points right now, coming on a short week at Tampa Bay. Very big test to this defense that's having a lot of trouble.
All right. Michael, you have any questions, or you want to?
No, I agree. What I see from their defense is just a lot of disconnect right now, I think, between all 3 levels. It just seems like the communication is just off, especially with their secondary. It seems like, guys are trying to get in the right spot, but then
is this a chemistry, possibly a chemistry issue?
I don't think it is.
Yeah, it's funny. You go back to watch the All-22, and amazingly, right now, I think the biggest liability is Stephon Gilmore. He is not going his assignments. Most of the completely blown coverages are on him. There's a couple times they line up in a trips bunch, and Eric Rowe, the slot cornerback, and Devin McCourty, the safety, cheats up, and they're both on the same page. And then, Gilmore's guy zigs and Gilmore zags, and he's just wide open. So I think Gilmore's having a really hard time adjusting to this defensive scheme. And because of that, maybe the other players in the secondary aren't trusting him as much as they'd like to. And the whole thing is suffering as a result. I don't want to point just to that one guy as the reason why nobody can do anything right now. But I think if you have one guy that you find is a real liability in coverage, it affects your play.
Okay. All right. So, Mike, did you have any other questions you want to throw in there?
No, I just talking about what I was saying earlier, I think it's just, where the coverage, I think, is just not there as far as, unity goes. It just seems like there's a disconnect between all 3 levels. But like Alex said, there's definitely miscommunication in the secondary going on. It just seems like, like he said, one guy's doing this and the other guy's trying to do that. And there could be a trust issue that you're just not doing, their assignments sound. It just seems like you're getting too many breakdowns there going on, and guys are running free.
All right. Well, I want to jump over to you, Mike. I wanted to get your same thing with that I did with Alec. I want to kind of come to you and get your final thoughts on the Bucs versus the Giants game. Very close game, and had a lot of people on the edge of their seats. That's about all I can really say about it. So I just want to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I thought overall, from the offensive point, I thought the offense did a pretty good job. I thought Jameis had one of his better games. He protected the football, which is key. And I thought for the most part we controlled pretty much the whole game. I think it probably would have been an easier win if our kicker makes his kicks. We probably win that game by 10 points or more. But I thought for the most part it was pretty solid. I thought the play calling was good. We were able to run the football and stay balanced. Defensively, I thought we did a pretty solid job. We really didn't allow any explosive plays, which was good. We made them drive it down the field and held them to 3 points at times. And I thought the offense was starting to click, which was good. So, I mean, I thought it's a game we had to win. Obviously, you got to win your home games, and we did what we had to, and that's all that matters. I mean, a win's a win.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now you have a big Thursday night game against, the defending champs, and, see what you're made of.
You know what? I really love this game for a lot of different reasons. Number one, this is a game, and I can honestly say 4 years ago, Tampa does not win this game. I can honestly tell you, and not to sound cliche, and I know I say this week in and week out, but Tampa's learning how to win games. They're learning how to close games out. I can remember games where Tampa's quarterback goes off the field with a lead, and the defense blows the lead. And what you're seeing is a lot more consistency, and what you're seeing from this team, despite the injuries, is a little bit more balanced than what you've seen in years past. So it's definitely something that I'm excited, and I think that Tampa can build on. I like the fact that Dirk Cutter, even though our kicker may have missed some kicks, he had enough confidence in him to come out there money time and get that kick and get that win. And to me, that's going to give Nick Folk confidence, going into this game. So I think there's definitely a plus with this, and I'm excited. Thursday night games not my thing, but I'm excited for football, and this is a definite. We're going into the Patriots game, definitely a measuring stick to see where Tampa is right now as a team, whether it's coaching and players, going against the world champions to, kind of see where you are.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No, and I was also going to add, I mean, I think, just having Brent Grimes back in our defense, it shows how much of a difference it makes. I mean, that guy is probably one of the top 5 corners in this game, and it showed. I mean, he pretty much locked down Odell Beckham when he was matched up against him, and just the plays he was able to make really made a difference. And Gerald McCoy again was dominant. So I just liked how we played. I thought our offensive line really had a great game. So I mean, all 3 phases I thought made some impacts and had a key part in this win. And that's how you got to play. You got to play complementary football, and it was just a good win, and to be above 500 in September or going into October is good.
Yeah. One thing that I will say is that whole next man up mentality has really paid off, especially for the Buccaneers linebacking core, because we saw some guys that aren't household names that went out and played a good game. I do know that, Tampa does miss Quan Alexander and Levante David, but these guys that Bond and help me out here, Bond.
Darius Glanton.
Darius Glanton, excuse me.
Yeah.
Darius Glanton went out and played good, and that's always a positive, because you're getting that playing time and experience moving forward into the season, just in case anything happens. So really excited for them, and I thought this was a good win. 2-0 at Raymond James Stadium is a good way to be, considering how tough it was, in the past to get wins. So I'm going to kind of jump into this Thursday night game, and Alec, I'm going to start with you, and I apologize. I'm going to start with you on this here. New England is coming into Tampa, and as you mentioned before, they've kind of struggled a little bit on defense. How does New England match up against Tampa based on what you've seen?
Again, to be full, I haven't watched a lot of Tampa Bay highlights this year, but what I've seen on the defensive side of the ball, and correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to be their linebackers, you just kind of alluded to, they're a little banged up. So the middle of the field, those kind of crossing routes, the under routes, that patented Gronkowski seam route, seem they're very vulnerable against that. Their corners and their secondary on the outside seem pretty solid, but the middle of the field is an area where the Patriots could feast. And I think their best bet to win this game, if they're going to come down to Tampa and win it, is to create mismatches with their passing backs, their Deion Lewis's and their James White's. Start them in the backfield, motion them out wide, get them on a linebacker. I don't think the linebacker depth of the Buccaneers is strong in coverage. So I think that's what I'm looking at if I'm on the Patriots. I also believe that safety Ward is banged up right now too. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Yeah. So I don't know how big a role he's played in your defense so far since he came over from Denver. But if the safety position is a little weak, that also bodes well for Brandon Cooks. So maybe a lot of underneath routes, a lot of slant routes, a lot of quick screens to draw the linebackers and the safeties up, and then a couple deep shots with Brandon Cooks and Chris Hogan is the offensive strategy if I am offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels.
All right. Well, what are your thoughts on your offensive line? Is your offensive line keeping Tom Brady upright? Are you comfortable with where they are right now?
No, big time no, which is weird because offensive line coach Dante Scarnecchia is one of the best, if not the best in the business. He retired for a couple of years. I'm sure you remember those years when the offensive line was just in shambles, 2015 especially. They've given up a lot of sacks. Brady was sacked 5 times against the Houston Texans, I believe 3 times last week against the Panthers. The real liability actually is left tackle Nate Solder. He missed the preseason, and he's been terrible so far, and that's Brady's blind side, very important part of that offensive line. He just can't seem to get it done. They're okay in the other positions with guard Joe Tooney, center David Andrews, guard Shaq Mason, and tackle Marcus Cannon, but they're having a lot of trouble on the blind side, and Brady's big weakness has always been if he gets hit early, if he gets rattled early, he gets inaccurate. He gets antsy in the pocket. He has trouble settling. And I'm not sure if it's kind of the residual. He hears footsteps because Solder's been so weak. But as of right now, this O-line is not bad, but they're not great.
All right. Michael.
No, I agree. Going back to, the offensive game plan, I agree with what he said. I think that is definitely an area of concern as a Bucs fan, going up against the Patriots passing offense, just because of their ability to create those mixed direction plays, especially with their screen game, is very nervous, for me, when I'm watching tape, because I think they can definitely isolate Kendall Beckwith or Darius Glanton in the passing game and probably take advantage of that. So I think, from a Bucs point of view, I think the defensive line is really going to have to show up in this game, to try to throw Brady off. I mean, we're going to have to get disruption. I mean, that's really the only way you can beat this Patriots offense. You have to find a way to disrupt it, whether you're pressing, their receivers or finding a way to just disrupt that timing, because when they get in rhythm, they're hard to stop. And, it's like a train. I mean, once it gets going, you don't want to be on the tracks. And then, as far as his offense line, I mean, they can be very good at times, but it just seems like they'll have a period of time where it kind of falls apart, during the game. But I mean, they can be really good, especially to running the football. I mean, they can be very dangerous. It's just that commitment part, I think, is what they're lacking right now.
Yeah, and something actually we've seen early on in this year is the teams that the Patriots have struggled against are teams like the Buccaneers that have 2 good edge defenders. Robert Ayers is pretty nasty, and then you've also got my probably one of my favorite players in the NFL, and Gerald McCoy. Just 2 really disruptive presences on the front of the line. You really can't block those guys one-on-one a lot of times. You have to add an extra blocker, maybe get a tight end to chip block or a back to chip block, and they've been vulnerable so far this season. So I think that actually bodes well for the Tampa Bay defensive line, because I don't think the secondary. I think the Patriots win the matchup secondary versus receivers pretty handily here. So that's where they're going to have to really get their money.
All right. Next question. I want to flip to the other side of the ball for you. How does the Patriots defense match up against the Buccaneer offense?
Well, right now, it seems like the only thing you have to be able to do to feast on the Patriots defense is be able to catch the football. That is pretty much the only requirement at the moment. And last time I checked, both Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson are capable of catching the football, which means they're both going to have massive days. I don't know what's going to happen here. The only thing I'm a little happier about is that both Jackson and Mike Evans, Deshaun Jackson is a little shorter. He's 5'9", 5'10", I believe. Malcolm Butler was forced to cover Devin Funchess last week. That's like a 6-7 inch mismatch right there. So that was a huge problem. I can't see anybody stopping Mike Evans on this Patriots defense at all. Belichick's strategy usually take away your best player and force you to beat them with other guys. But the way things are going right now, I expect big gains and big games from Evans and Deshaun Jackson. Tight ends have fared well against the Patriots. I don't know what your tight end situation is.
I was just getting ready to bring that up. I noticed that for Carolina, the tight ends were catching balls at will. pretty much.
And it wasn't Greg Olsen either. There was like nobody tight ends.
Cameron Brate and O.J. Howard, the first-round pick from Alabama, are the two tight ends that we have in Tampa. And I don't know if you got to see the touchdown that O.J. got last week Sunday against the Giants. It's pretty amazing. You got to see some of that speed on display. And Cameron Brate is somebody that Jameis Winston has a lot of comfort with. They're like they're just like this pretty much, and they that's his go-to guy. Another guy that you probably don't hear about or haven't heard about, Adam Humphries, is somebody who's capable of of moving the chains as well. So there's just a lot of there's a lot of pieces that they'll be on display basically on Thursday if everything works out where we'll all get to see them.
Interesting. How much of your the Tampa Bay offensive game plan so far in the season has involved Winston running the ball? Any like QB keepers, bootlegs, or is he staying more in the pocket this year?
Very rare. Yeah, he stays in. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just going to say, Jameis, he likes to stay in the pocket. He will run if necessary. If it's wide open, he'll take it if it's there. But, usually he's keeping his head downfield, looking for his options. So, you're not going to see any like QB zone runs like you did last week with, Cam Newton. So
interesting. That's good. I'm happy with that because right now, if it's 3rd and 4, it's a QB drop the middle for 10 yards every single time. So hopefully that'll be a buck that trend.
Yeah, if you if you do get a chance to watch, all 22, go to the fourth quarter, probably the last 5 minutes of the game at least. You'll get to see where Jameis is kind of taking what the defense gives him. And if it's the option to run or the availability to run, then you may see that. It's not going to be his first choice or second, but if the opportunity is available, he will definitely do it.
That's good. And you think it's his 3rd year. Obviously, he had a strong rookie season, decent year last year. You see the arrow still trending upward. People are happy with the progression so far as a quarterback.
Absolutely, he's the leader of this franchise, not offense or defense, but the franchise. I think. When you talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now in Tampa, Jameis Winston's the first name that comes up, not a Gerald McCoy or Deshaun Jackson. It's Jameis Winston. This is his team.
That's awesome. I like him again. He's a good kid, it seems like.
Yeah, Mike, you want to add anything?
No, I was just going to say, definitely he is on the way up for sure. I think, there's still fans that are going to nitpick, with his, accuracy and interceptions and stuff like that. But the guy is a gunslinger. He likes to take chances. He likes to go for big plays. I think there's a stat today that you guys put on your site where I think Tom Brady is first, I believe, in yards per air attempt or something like that. And I believe Jameis is right behind him. So take his shots but I think he's learning how to be more patient and learn how to take what the defense is giving him as far as, hitting his checkdowns. But yeah, the guy's on the rise, I think. And again, people forget he's only 23 years old.
Yeah.
He's going to continue to get better.
That's what it's all about right there, is just continuing to grow. And, a lot of the things that you heard about him coming out of college, there is no signs of that. What he's doing in the community, what he did after Hurricane Irma, just speaks to what kind of quarterback he really is. So I really like what he's doing.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. How about you guys? I'm looking right now at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers roster, and I'm focusing on the running back core right now. And I'm guessing, and it looks like it's a Doug Martin, Jaquiz Rogers. They're the main backs. And how do they split the carries right now?
This is going to be Doug Martin's first game back. Mike, you want to take this one here? I've been hogging the whole conversation, and we haven't gotten to hear enough from you. I think we need to get you more involved here.
No, it's I think that's going to be one of the biggest keys for tomorrow's game. I think with Doug Martin returning, I would like to see the Bucs, play a ball control style offense where we're just moving the chains and trying to eat up clock, but also trying to score touchdowns, hopefully in the red zone. That's one of our issues right now as an offense. But Martin coming back and Jacquizz Rodgers did a great job, in the first 3 games. So I think what you're going to see is kind of both of them right now, kind of split carries. But eventually Doug Martin will be the starter. But I think if Doug Martin gets going early in the game tomorrow, I think they'll go with him. But, right now they're going to try to, keep it balanced and use them both. To see them just try to, pound that rock and then, throw it over the top for sure and try to keep the Patriots offense off the field. I think that's going to be the game plan.
Question for you. Is Gronkowski, what is his status for tomorrow?
Gronkowski is fine. He was listed as questionable, I believe, with a thigh injury. He should be okay. The only people, again, I mentioned that they're going to be out is Burkhead and the cornerback Eric Rowe will also be out. I think with a groin injury, and that's a pretty big loss in the secondary because that's a area where he was actually starting over Stephon Gilmore. Gilmore was actually benched in the start of the second half. Then Rowe got hurt and Gilmore had to come in. But Gronkowski should be fine. He's still a matchup nightmare. He's the best tight end in football, hands down. But as a Patriots fan, I can tell you every time he catches the ball and gets tackled, I cringe and I'm worried he's not going to get up. He rarely plays a full season. And, the way the NFL rules are structured right now, you can't hit him high, you can't hit him in the middle, so you have to hit him really low. And it's just a matter of time before he blows a knee out or a back out again. I'm hoping he can. I'd love to see him get bubble wrapped to the playoffs, but he'll be good. He'll be good to go tomorrow.
All right. So, Mike, I'm going to kind of come to you here. Next question. How do you see Tampa matching up against the Patriots?
Offense and defense, or just as a whole?
As far as let me start with defense versus their offense.
Like I said, I think the game plan, I can control the clock and keep that Patriots offense off the field. I think again, it's as far as the defense, it's going to come down to our defensive line. We have to find a way to. First of all, we have to stop the run. You can't let the Patriots run the ball on you, or it's going to be a long day because they're just going to be too balanced, and they're going to find ways to just keep you guessing pretty much the whole game. And they already do a great job of that without running the ball. So that's what makes them so dangerous because they're so diverse in their play calling that it really makes it hard to game plan for and really hard to pick up any tendencies, throughout the game. And they always make adjustments. So, Brady is always making adjustments, every series. So it really makes it tough. That's why it's up to our defensive line. They have to find a way to penetrate and disrupt, whether it's getting hands on footballs or, hopefully hitting Brady. It's easier said than done. Brady he's so elusive too within the pocket. So, you got to make sure you get home. But yeah, it's a tough matchup for our defense. It's going to be tough, especially we're going to have a rookie safety starting probably in Justin Evans alongside Chris Conte. So, and that kind of scares me just because I don't think he's ready yet. Hoping he proves us wrong. But
so let me ask you this. I want you to put your head coach hat on real quick. How would you scheme this game? If you're the defensive coordinator, how would you scheme this game?
If I'm the defense coordinator, I am playing a lot of press man, maybe a little matchup zone, and trying to disrupt these Patriots receivers and finding a way to get after Tom Brady, whether that's disguising my blitz coverages, maybe doing some zone blitzes where we're mixing it up, trying to confuse Brady, maybe dropping back a defensive lineman to pick off those underneath routes. Anything I can do to disrupt that timing because that's what they do so well. It's 1, 2, 3 and the ball's out. And usually they're finding ways to get big plays just by doing that. And they move so fast that it wears your defense out. And come fourth quarter, they can take it over. So ways to disrupt. Anything to disrupt their timing.
There you go. And Alec, I'm going to ask you the same question as a defensive coordinator. How do you game plan against this Buccaneers offense?
Yeah, I think what I do here, the Dante Hightower's been playing a lot on the edge. They've kind of shifted him to the lateral sides of the line.
And this is a 3-4 defense, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So I want to see Hightower get back to the middle of the Mike linebacker role. I think he's more comfortable there. I think he's better there. He has better command of the defense. He's got the green dot in his helmet. He's a defensive captain. So I think he's got a better shot of quarterbacking the defensive side of the ball as a middle linebacker, get him off the edge. Maybe move Cassius Marsh or Kyle Van Noy back out to the outside as the edge rusher. And I'd also like to see the Patriots bracket. I think Mike Evans is the more dangerous of the two receivers between Deshaun Jackson and Mike Evans. Maybe Jackson's more of the deep threat. I think Evans has a better route tree, a little better hands, a little more dynamic. So maybe I would bracket Mike Evans with Stephon Gilmore and Devin McCourty over the top. I'd put safety Pat Chung as the linebacker role on maybe O.J. Howard or Cameron Brate, whoever is the more dangerous tight end. And I'd have one-on-one Malcolm Butler with Deshaun Jackson. I think he has a good closing speed, and I think their matchup physically a little better. And I want to make sure I've got at least one linebacker in a spy role on Jameis Winston in case he does take off, and rely on your defensive ends. Trey Flowers, the edge rusher for the Patriots, had a really good season. Rookie Dietrich Wise out of Arkansas is having a really good rookie campaign so far. And we need the bigger guys in the middle, the Malcolm Browns, the Allen Branches, to step up, be the run stuffers, and stop getting themselves into 2nd and 3s, 3rd and 1s. We need 2nd and 10s and 3rd and 8s. So I think if they can kind of do that with all of it kind of going back towards Dante Hightower as the Mike linebacker, the middle guy, if they can do that successfully, that should bode well for the Patriots. But all that aside, just like not have somebody wide open would be great as well. So I'm going to go for that first. Like, make sure you're at least around the receiver to tackle him if he catches the ball. And if you can get that done, then implement my game plan.
All right, there you go. All right, Mike, offensive coordinator, what are you doing? How are you going to get 7 points on the board?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I would do, I would line up in a lot of 12 personnel. Basically, that is 2 tight end sets with 1 running back and 2 receivers. And I would pretty much just try to run it right at the Patriots defense and try to establish the run and then try to enforce play action and get them guessing and try to mix it up that way. Maybe at times spread them out a little bit and try to attack their nickel corners, their slot corners, especially with Eric Rowe out. And I would try to find mismatches. Same thing goes with Cameron Brate and O.J. Howard. Isolate them against their linebackers and try to take advantage of that down the middle of the field. So, I mean, it's staying balanced, but also trying to, I think, control the clock. I think time of possession is going to be very big for the Bucs. If they can find a way to win that, I think they'll have the advantage. Just trying to keep Tom Brady off the field, but it's easier said than done.
All right. And Alec, I'm coming to you. Get your offensive coordinator hat on, man. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I think given the injuries to the Buccaneers linebacker core and the fact they're starting a rookie at safety, Tom Brady loves to pick on rookies, loves it. And so I think how I do that is I do a lot of 2-back sets with Dion Lewis and James White, maybe a shotgun formation with both backs lined up in the eye, motion them out, force the defense to show their hand, read the coverage, and then either go for that short pass to White or Dion Lewis or Danny Amendola if the mismatch is there. If not, take a deep shot against that safety. Brandon Cooks is a very fast guy. He runs a 4.3 40. Chris Hogan runs a 4.3 40 as well. So they have 2 really fast guys on the outside. So I would make sure to keep the defense posting up with those short completions early on in the game. And once they get comfortable doing that, then hit them deep for a couple of big gains and take the wind out of the sails that way.
All right. So yeah, that's that could work. There you go. And I'm just looking here through the funny chat. You have to almost be in the chat room here. It's really funny. Somebody was saying we need to quit giving Alec so much information. He might use it tomorrow. They're thinking you're a head coach, man.
Honestly,
it's funny. Somebody said I think Alec may be on the sideline tomorrow.
Honestly, I could probably play safety for this team right now. Their secondary is that bad.
Yeah, you guys, that's really insightful what you're talking about, and it's really going to be an exciting game to me. This is real, and I mentioned this earlier in the show. This is going to pretty much tell you where Tampa is, as in their progression to getting to be a playoff team, and just getting better, and that's what's really exciting for me. Bill Belichick to me is one of the best coaches that I've seen, since I've really been paying attention to football, and what he's been able to accomplish with players that, bringing Randy Moss and revitalizing his career. LeGarrette Blount comes in, Aqib Talib comes in, and all the different players that they've brought in, and what he's been able to get the most out of them, and play to their strengths, and just get things accomplished. The one thing that I will say, and I want to thank you for, is Jason Light, because Jason Light, having come from that New England Patriots tree, how his mindset is not holding on to a player because that player isn't doing what they need to be doing. He's not afraid of making mistakes and moving on from it. So, again, thank you for him. I mean, he's been probably, I would have to say, he's one of the best GMs that Tampa's had, just based on the way he's turned that team around, turned that roster around in such a short period of time.
Didn't the Buccaneers just cut a pass rusher today?
Jacquez Smith.
Yeah, Jacquez Smith. Was that a shock at all? Or that kind of coming?
It kind of was to me. He's somebody that I expected, to bounce back from his injury and be able to contribute in the season. So that was kind of I don't know, it kind of caught me by surprise. Mike?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little surprising. But I mean, personally, I just don't think he ever got healthy. He's coming off a torn ACL, and I just think usually sometimes those injuries take at least 2 years to fully get back. And he was out there this past Sunday, and to be honest, he just looked very slow. And for a guy that's a speed rusher, not having his explosiveness, he's pretty much, he can't really do anything. So I don't feel he was 100%, and that's why they had to let him go. I think they're gonna, and plus they needed to probably promote a safety. I think they're gonna bring up a safety from the practice squad just because of, you might not have TJ Ward tomorrow, or you might not have Keith Tandy, who's also our other safety. So, it sucks, but because we were kind of counting on him to be one of those edge rushers off the edge to help us out. But I mean, it's up to Noah Spence now to step up his game, and same thing with Robert Ayers and the rest of the defensive line. So,
all right. So, any thoughts on that, or Alec? Any thoughts on that as far as the? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
no, that makes sense. It's tough. As somebody who's a player that Edelman just blew his ACL out, and he's on the wrong side of 30, and he's one of the receivers who makes his money being shifty, making in cuts, going laterally. Mm-hmm. It makes you wonder if it takes 2 years, he'll be like 32 or 33 by the time it's fully healed again. And that's a very tough thing to come back from. And it makes you really wonder. It actually blows my mind that guys don't blow their ACL out every single play. All these big 300-pound guys diving around knees, you figure they just shattered, but
yeah.
I'm hoping everyone stays healthy tomorrow. Thursday Night Football is notorious for players not being ready. They're not rested enough. They're not, treated enough. As the NFL tries to grab more money, they don't care about player safety. And hopefully both teams stay healthy tomorrow.
Yeah. And, while we're on that subject, it's something, if you're a longtime football fan, you go back to the day where Monday Night Football was like the crown jewel of the NFL. Everybody played on Sunday, but only 2 teams showed up for Monday Night Football. And then you have the evolution of Thursday Night Football, which has been brought in to bring in more revenue. Me personally, I'm going to start with myself this time. I don't really care for Thursday Night Football. I think it takes away from Monday Night Football. I mean, to me, when you have a Thursday night game, it just means that a Monday night game is no big deal. And it really takes away from it. And again, how many players can genuinely recover from throwing their body into other people, getting hit, and, just running at full speed, and just how can you recover between Sunday to Thursday? It's crazy. And these players, they talk about protecting the shield. How are you protecting the shield? And we see so many blowouts or so many lopsided games. It's like the London game. I mean, it's just you rarely see competitive games in London. Just it's the same as Thursday night. I wish they would just go back to Monday Night Football. That would be where your emphasis is. So I wanted to get your thoughts on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, it's funny. I've not met a single person who likes Thursday Night Football. Like, I've not met a single person who thinks it's a good idea, who isn't an NFL owner making money off of it. If you're just like a fan, nobody likes it. Nobody wants it. Of course, we all watch it. I mean, the answer is we stop watching it, but we're not going to do that, right? Or let's be honest here. It's like crack. We're not going to stop watching Thursday Night Football. But it's as you said, it's a bad product. It's a sloppy game, and when the players aren't rested enough, the coaches don't have time to install a game plan. Sometimes the groundskeepers don't have time to get the field into playable conditions. It's just an absolute mess. It's nothing but a money grab, and it's mind-boggling to me how the NFL can talk about player safety and integrity and making sure they're watching out for their product while they have these guys bashing each other 3 days after they just finished doing it. It makes no sense. It has to go. It never will because it makes too much money, but I've not met a single fan who enjoys that game.
Yeah, Michael.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, same thoughts. I mean, I heard Coach Cutter talking about, the linemen, for instance. I mean, it takes them at least 3 to 4 days just to recover from bumps and bruises, and their body's pretty much sore until, in some cases Friday. I mean, they're not even to go. I mean, it just takes time for these guys to get their bodies right, for the next week. So, I mean, that's why you see sloppy play, because the trenches is just not good because guys are just beat up. And it makes it tough, especially in the second half of games where, guys are just, and it's not a good product. And unfortunately, like Alex said, I mean, the NFL is not going to do anything about it. And it's a shame for the league because they're really putting a bad product on the field on these Thursday night games. And I don't agree with it. And hopefully there's, somebody makes it right eventually.
Yeah. Again, there's so much money out here. Wrong way, Roger. As long as he's making money for the owners, they're going to allow him to do whatever he wants to up until we have the work stoppage in 2020, which there's no doubt in my mind that there will be work stoppage because there's so much at stake. The fact that the Players Association gave Roger Goodell as much power as they did during this last collective bargaining agreement, I'm sure they're kicking themselves based on all the horrific moves that he's made. And, you just don't know. So hopefully this comes up. This may be one of those things. I know it probably won't, but Thursday Night Football is just not good.
No, it's not. And what really worries me about the point you just made about Roger Goodell's power, I feel like he's going to cede that power during the next CBA to get some other ridiculous concession elsewhere in the contract. Now that he has that precedent, he'll probably use it at the negotiating table. He'll give some of it back, but what he'll take in return, I'm very scared to see.
Yeah, because it won't be good. Probably a team in Taiwan or something. But anyway, this is a fan show, and again, guys, I appreciate all the listeners, everybody that's chiming in. I want to get out here to the live chat, and this is for anybody. As you can see how this show is, we butt into each other. When you're talking, I may chime in, or if you here's something that you want to comment on, please just jump right in here. But this was kind of directed at Michael. Steve Whittington was saying, how much impact do you think that we'll have with the injuries as far as the Bucs go? Are some of these injuries effective? For me, TJ Ward being out, not getting enough playing time to get that chemistry with the defense. Quan Alexander and Levante David both being out is huge. And I think what we saw with Brent Grimes being out that game against Minnesota and the impact he had coming back, I think a lot of fans won't really appreciate these linebackers being out until we see them come back in and make an impact. So, Michael, I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, definitely, having Keith Tandy out and TJ Ward. Again, there's a possibility maybe one of them plays. I know TJ Ward did practice a little bit this week, so maybe he does play. I mean, but they're both listed as doubtful, so usually that means no go. But yeah, I mean, it definitely has an impact. Same thing goes for the linebackers. I mean, Quan Alexander, Levante David. I think Levante David is on the team, and Quan is getting there. So there's definitely an impact there, but I do like that, Kendall Beckwith is stepping up and he's getting that experience, which is good as a rookie. He's probably been one of our better defenders so far this year. So, I mean, yeah, it has an impact. I understand where the fans are coming from, but again, it's a next man up league. I mean, you have to step up. Whoever gets the call, you got to go in there and be ready to play. So that's all there is to it.
And folks, again, this is another leg of the Kendall Beckwith apology tour. I am sorry that I was wrong about this guy. I thought I had him pegged with the game film, and I was wondering what Tampa was doing, but we see what he's been able to accomplish as he's continually gotten better from camp all the way up to the present game. He's playing like, he's not playing like a rookie. And that's something that I'm really excited about, and I hope to see continual progress from him. So let's see. Next question. Do you think that Tampa will trade for a defensive end? I don't know who would be available, to be honest, that teams would be willing to part with.
No, I mean, you're not going to find a pass rusher now. I mean, teams are not going to give up, legit pass rushers. Those are just, you have to draft them, and that's really the only way you're going to get one. And that will definitely be a priority for the Bucs next offseason. I think they're definitely going to be taking a defensive end in round 1 for sure.
Yeah. All right. Next question. How do you guys think the Bucs should attack the Patriots, being that Belichick is going to try to take Evans out of the game? That means that everybody else has to step up. Cameron Brate has to step up. Deshaun Jackson has to step up. And not taking anything away from Deshaun Jackson, I feel like there's an issue with chemistry. He hasn't been with Tampa as long as Mike Evans or Cameron Brate or Adam Humphries has. And I think eventually that chemistry it'll come about. It's not if, it's when it's going to happen. And I believe that that's going to be definitely something that we'll definitely be talking about. Doug Martin, if he does play, he has to make plays. I know this is his first game back. So as a matter of fact, I'm not really sure how much of Doug Martin we'll really see, if it won't be more of Jacquizz Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Randy Tiki. Quan and Beckwith can hold it down until David comes back, maybe for the Cardinals game or the Bills game. 3 weeks for a high ankle sprain. Yeah, it's hard. It's kind of hard to tell. Tampa's very precaution. They take a lot of precaution with hamstrings and ankle injuries, so it's kind of hard to tell with that one there. So what I want to do now, Alec, and I'm sorry, you've got you hanging over here. I'm just kind of going through some of the chat here. What I want to do is go to I'm at the SB Nation site, and I'm just kind of looking through some of your articles. The latest article you have from October 3rd, Coping with Loss, the Carolina Panthers edition. When you're writing, when you're coming up with this, is a lot of this based on what you've seen while you're watching the game, or do you watch game film and then you decide, hey, this is what I'm going to write, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, so kind of what I'm known for at Pat's Pulpit is I'm more of like the guy who writes from the heart a little bit more. Our managing editor, Rich Hill, is a phenom on the analysis and the game tape and the breakdowns. What people really enjoy about my writing personally is I kind of have my finger on the pulse of how Patriots fans are feeling before and after each game, win or loss. So I kind of tap into that kind of emotion. Inside me somewhere, there's a very irrational, paranoid Patriots fan, and he's the guy that kind of comes out when I write. So when I do these kind of coping with loss articles, it's kind of to remind myself as much as everybody else, especially in Patriots Nation, where we have it so good comparatively, that just because they lost a week 4 game and they're now 2-2 on the season, which most teams would love to be, given the circumstances, it's not something you can really cry too much over, especially because no one ever cares when the Patriots lose. No one gives us sympathy, and no one's looking to kind of make us feel better. So I kind of write with that in mind. All
right, Michael, and you're a fellow writer as well. And when you're writing, where do you come up with what you write about, or how does that work?
I'm very similar to Alec as well. I mean, I try to balance it. I kind of write from my heart as well, but I also back it up with film analysis and stats and try to be more analytical. I would say I'm probably more analytical than I am, talking about art. I mean, I know it sucks when the Bucs lose. I mean, I hate it. it takes me at least a day to recover. So, I'm usually writing with understand it. I have to be logical as well and try to present, hey, this is what happened, and you fix it kind of thing. So, um, the best point of view I can as far as being a Bucs fan, but also looking at it from a, outsider kind of view as well.
All right. Alec, question from Amazement 717. How do you feel about Jimmy Garoppolo?
What we've seen so far has been great. Everyone loved him in his brief stint as a Patriot starter last season. But that said, he's basically got 6 quarters of pro football under his belt. So my expectations are tempered. What I'm really curious to see is what they do next year, because his contract is up at the end of this season. He'll be a free agent. Given the quarterback market and the way that coaches just throw money at quarterbacks, no matter how bad they are, he's going to get a big contract somewhere. So if the Patriots decide to franchise him at the $26 million cap hit, which means almost half their salary caps in 2 people, which is not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
And so I'll be very indicative of what's going to happen with Tom Brady. He'll be 41 next year. I'd be very happy to have Jimmy Garoppolo in New England long term, but I'm not ready for the Tom Brady era to end just yet. So, it's a really good question. And the sample size is big enough. It's big enough for coaches to give him a big payday somewhere to get a Brock Osweiler contract.
Or Mike Glennon.
Or a Mike Glennon contract, or a Matt Flynn. You can the laundry list is long of quarterbacks to get overpaid. I just don't know. Yeah, I just don't know what they're going to do with him. It's a really good question. I like what I've seen. Am I going to let Tom Brady go and take him? No, because Tom Brady is still playing as high level as ever.
Yeah, and and I know this is looking way into the future, but when you consider the class of quarterbacks that are coming out in the draft, do you think that that's definitely the direction? Do you think that could be the direction that Bill Belichick and the Patriots go, possibly bringing somebody in, bringing a rookie in? Or do you pay a Garoppolo to stay and take over the team?
Yeah, I think the way the NFL is structured is such a stupid business model. The way the NFL treats rookie quarterbacks is if the CEO of Goldman Sachs interviews this 22-year-old frat boy and is like, all right, son, you're hired. You have to save this company. You have 2 years to save this company. And if you don't do it, everyone's getting fired. And that's kind of how they treat quarterbacks. You have 2 years to prove yourself. And that's a ridiculous way to transition from college football, where someone kind of sucks, to the NFL, where everyone's amazing. So the way to build a team and a franchise is to find a rookie. You let him learn under a Tom Brady or a Brett Favre like Aaron Rodgers did. And you start him when it's time for him to do that. But the way that coaches' jobs are constantly on the line and coordinators' jobs are constantly on the line, they have to win now. And I think they're always going to chase that golden egg and those highly touted college prospects. And they're not going to have the patience or the ability, due to their short leashes, to really let guys develop over time. I think the Patriots are in a really good position with Jimmy Garoppolo. I think if Brady were to say he win the Super Bowl again this year and decide to retire, they definitely give him a big contract. But Brady shows no signs of slowing down. And my concern is, by the time, the worst time to draft a quarterback is when you need one. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And you're talking to Bucs fans. We know all about that.
Yeah, sure. Luckily you guys were able to pick up Winston, and Winston, had a good rookie campaign. His era's pointing up, but it's just a very broken business model. Yeah, it's a broken business model.
One more question for you. Two Scoops was asking, Alec, if the Patriots miss the playoffs, which won't happen, but do you think that Tom Brady would retire?
I think the only way Tom Brady retires this season, is if he wins a 6th. He is an absolute nut job. He's a maniac. If he were to miss the playoffs, there's no way he's going out like that. He'll probably play longer than he should, as most competitors do. The body gives out long before the heart does. So I think the only chance he retires is if he goes out on top and wins his 6th. I don't see that happening this year. Honestly, I don't think their defense is quite there yet, but he definitely will not retire if they miss the playoffs.
All right. Mike, you want to get in here? Or
just going back to the whole quarterback system, you just look at the Cleveland Browns. They draft, it seems like they draft quarterback year after year and try to, force things, and it just doesn't work out. Going back to Alec's point, I think you got to give these guys time. You got to show some patience and let them develop into what they can be. Usually quarterbacks to get where they need to be as far as a professional and, to the top of their game, it usually takes them, to learn the offense and to really progress as a quarterback and gain mechanics that they need to be successful. So NFL franchises are pressured to win now. And if they don't, then, changes happen and you get coaching changes, and then that's where the quarterback, gets messed up. So, yeah.
And then you come into inconsistencies, which Tampa could definitely explain to you about as well. But it is a vicious circle, and it's bad that it has to be that way. I would like to see coaches get a little bit more time to get their systems in place. I think, again, and I talked about this prior to the show, Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots, they had a good business model where the owners, they're the owner of the team, the GMs and the head coaches do what they do and the players play. And that's pretty much, what it should be. And I think it takes upwards of 3 to 4 years for a head coach to get their system fully in place and get them, if they're doing it correctly, and get the majority of the players that they need to start showing success. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's just kind of been my assessment of it.
Oh, no, I agree. I mean, one of the areas where the Patriots, of the 90s with the Bill Parcells era, there was a big problem with him and Bob Kraft. Bob Kraft tried to be very involved in the process. He was in on the drafts. He was doing the Jerry Jones approach, and it led to a big rift, and he left for the Jets. And so when he hired Bill Belichick, he realized, I'm the owner. This is my toy, pretty much. I'm a rich guy who owns his team. Let the coach do his thing. Let him make the decisions, and I'll just stay out of it. And you're absolutely right. Allowing coaches time to build a system, bringing the guys they want to bring in, install an offense is crucial. Because you get these guys and they suddenly start to do this offense, and they suddenly start to pick it up, and they went 9-7 or 7-9 again, and the coach gets fired. New coach, new system, quarterback sucks, and on we go. It's funny, for the league that's supposed to have the most parity, it has the least parity. It's crazy. Yeah.
Two Scoops had another question. Do you think that with Rob Ninkovich retiring, do you think that had effect on the defense?
It might have. It's funny. You look at the roster from 2016 versus 2017. It's not like they got gutted. They lost Jabal Sheard to the Colts. Ninkovich retired. They traded Jamie Collins midseason, Chandler Jones before the season. So you really can't count those guys. But that's kind of it in terms of the guys that lost. Logan Ryan went to the Tennessee Titans. So it's not like they got significantly worse over the course of the offseason. Right. Patricia's still there. He didn't get poached for a head coaching job. So the core is still in place. It's just really significant communication issues right now. No one's on the same page. I compare them to they look like sideline Eli Manning, just kind of standing around with their mouth open, no clue what's going on. I'd like to think that's an area that's very fixable. Once you kind of get on the same page, everyone's going to kind of fall into place. But it's a very weird time for Patriots fans because Bill Belichick is a defensive guy. We've never seen a defense this bad and this incompetent. So we're not quite sure what's going to happen with it. Ninkovich was a locker room leader. He's a guy people looked up to. So maybe some behind-the-scenes locker room stuff where there isn't really a vocal, outspoken leader to kind of galvanize everybody in the locker room. That might have been the biggest impact Ninkovich left.
I see. All right. So guys, it's unbelievable. It's been an hour already that we've talked. Alec, I really appreciate you coming on. Can you tell everybody, are you on social media? And if so, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, especially me, because I need to be following you, to be honest.
Well, I'm not actually on social media. I do have a Twitter handle, but I don't use it for football at all. You can just catch me at patspulpit.com. I write for them all the time. I'm always on there. I do a podcast with my co-manager, Rich Hill. It's the Pat's Pulpit podcast. We're on iTunes. You can subscribe to that. We also do pregame shows on live Google Hangouts. It's a live kind of video chat we do, usually about an hour or so before kickoff. So whenever the kickoff is for Patriots games, Rich and I are talking about the game, breaking it down. That's your best way to follow me.
All right. Michael Pless, thank you once again, man. I appreciate you getting this guy on. Wealth of knowledge, again, high football IQ, and you're both appreciated. But Michael, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, well, first let me thank Alec again. I mean, thank you. I mean, just for short notice coming on here and joining us. We really do appreciate it. We always like to, get insight from other teams and stuff. So we appreciate it. And you can follow us at Real Bucs Talk. I'm the co-owner of realbucstalk.com. I run the site with my, good friend Mark Ramirez. And it's just something we've been doing for the last 2 years, and love talking Bucs football. So it's really a joy. And if Bucs fans have any questions, you can always hit us up on Twitter. We're usually quick responders. So, and obviously we do this show here, Buck what you heard. So, it's awesome right now. Really fun times.
Yeah. And again, I didn't think we were going to be able to get a Patriots fan on here, or a Patriots podcast, or anybody on, but we're fortunate to have you on. And, as I tell everybody that comes on, there's a open door policy. Anytime you want to jump on, you're more than welcome. You're always invited.
Awesome. This is a lot of fun, man. Question for you guys. We'll kind of end it with, what are your expectations for the Buccaneers this season? What if come January, come February, whatever, what would you be happy to see from the Buccaneers in 2017?
Michael Pless.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much playoffs. I mean, we want to take that next step. I mean, that's what we're looking for. 9-7 last year, I thought was good. I thought we had the roster to make the playoffs. Came up a little short. So I'd just like to see us take that next step. So definitely playoffs, even if it's just a wild card. But I think we have the team to contend for a division title. I think we're right there with Atlanta, to be honest. If healthy, again, it depends on health. We don't have the depth as other teams do in certain areas, but I think we have, with the offensive firepower, I mean, it's really, I think playoffs are pretty much bust. So,
yeah, I'm right there with you. When I look at this team, I look at Doug Martin coming off of his suspension, coming back fresh and ready to go. Levante David and Quan Alexander having been out as long as they have, when they come back, they'll be ready to push, for the middle and back end of the season. So the fact that Tampa doesn't have a bye week or at all, because of Hurricane Irma, it's kind of sad, but it is what it is, and you just have to keep playing through that. I believe that this team, with the coaching and with the player personnel, and when healthy, is capable of making it to the playoffs. Again, that's my thing. It's not so much statistics; it's more or less wins and losses, and that's what really counts. And I think that Tampa, again, as you guys have mentioned, Tampa does have what it takes to get to the playoffs.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you guys having me on. This is a lot of fun. This is infinitely better than anything you get on ESPN or NFL.com, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is the evolution of sports talk.
For real. Screw the pros, man. It's all about the schmoes.
That's right, man. The ham and eggers.
That's right.
All right, everybody. That's it for me. And Michael and Alec, thank you so much. And you guys have a great evening, and go Bucs.